Welcome to the interview portion of the Spotlight. I am Steven Jensen, as always, here with Jeremy Lambert. And our guest today is the king of Wreck Shit Mountain. He is the unsanctioned pro heavyweight champion. He is the ratty daddy, Cole Radrick. Thanks for coming on the show, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate being on here.
Yeah, we appreciate you too, man. And we talked a little bit in the DMs, and you're somebody I've been following for quite a while now. I think the first time I saw you was probably at SUP like years ago, out of Nashville. Because you did some shows there like years back, right? Like probably 3
I
4
did a
years
couple
ago.
scramble matches, I think. Yeah, for a
Yeah.
couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to see you live there, and then I just started seeing you kind of popping up everywhere. And like, I know you're an Indiana guy, but you're also becoming really big in Texas, like specifically in like the Houston area. So what's it been like just like the last handful of years, just kind of going from like, just kind of like under the radar to now like people are really starting to notice you, it seems like.
Yeah, it's really comes out of nowhere. It comes up pretty quickly. Honestly, like I started for GCW in like 2019, in December 2019, right before the pandemic hit. And I got lucky enough just to start getting on their shows and more often. And during the pandemic, GCW was like one of the few shows running. So I got really lucky throughout the pandemic to be able to wrestle, and people were able to see me do my thing because there weren't a lot of independent shows going on. And once things kind of started opening up, it has kind of elevated things and escalated things. And I started wrestling for New Texas Pro. I started doing a lot more East Coast shows. I went to Seattle for Without a Cause. I wrestled at Grap House, which is in Las Vegas. Kat has made an appearance. I apologize. We talked about it earlier within 30 seconds. But I just got really lucky that gosh, of course. I got really lucky, that to have a working relationship with Game Changer Wrestling throughout the pandemic, and to be able to be one of their. I think I've gone from a scramble guy, now I've had my individual matches, and I'm showing that not only can I do technical wrestling or UWFI style, which in Paradigm Pro, Paradigm Pro is one of those other companies that throughout the pandemic they were running, and you look at guys that have came out of Paradigm Pro. You have guys like Myron Reed, who's a star in MLW. You have guys like AJ Gray, who was a former Paradigm Pro champion. Now he's wrestling John Moxley at Spring Break. Like, Paradigm Pro has a lot of great talent that are usually the guys that are coming up, and guys and girls, and it's a great company to work for. And I just got very lucky to be able to wrestle throughout the pandemic. So I think that kind of attributed to my growth. And I don't know, I just tried to really work hard, especially on Section Pro. They helped out a lot too, for real.
Cole, Jensen picked. We do an indie spotlight, and Jensen picked your match against Oren at the Deathmatch as his last week. And I've seen some of your stuff, like when I watch like full GCW matches, but this was one that I actively sought out to watch and check out. And I just have to ask, what possesses a man to do a death match?
It's, I don't know, like that's a very good question. Like, I've always been like an adrenaline junkie, so like I think the danger of that, the unknown of like, shit, something could go wrong. It can definitely go wrong in those types of matches. But I don't know. I don't know what possesses somebody. It's just like it's like a light switch. I'm definitely not like the normal person, I don't think. Whether that be, doing death matches, or, wrecking cars in the demolition derby, or, doing other dumb, crazy things like dirt track racing. Like, I've always done things that were out of the norm or would get your heartbeat racing, and death matches just happen to be another form of that. Yeah, and scars are cool too. Like, as fucked up as that is, it was like my girlfriend was cleaning up some of my cuts. She's like, "You're gonna have so many more scars." I was like,
"Chick dig scars." That's from the Replacements, right? Chick dig scars.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if my chick digs it, but like, I mean, I think she digs me still. So like, that's cool.
Yeah, you gave yourself one of those right across the chest too.
See, that is like
R.I.P. Adam Bueller. That was one of his staples, and we lost him to cancer. So I just want to shout out Adam Bueller. He was a really fucking good guy. But yeah, that shit was sick. Yeah, Crowd loved it.
That's one of
all that
those where I'm
matters.
watching. I'm like, what possesses a man to just do that? And you know, you said it was a tribute, but still, I can't.
It's a
imagine.
tribute, and it was just a feeling in the moment. You know what I mean? It was just like, all right, we're fucking here. You know? Yeah. I don't know. That it was a big match for me. So it was a big moment.
Well, you know, like you mentioned Paradigm Pro, which I love what they do too with the UWFI style stuff, and you know, just kind of diversifying your skill set, right? Like you have like the mixed rules, like work shoot type stuff. You have like traditional wrestling, and then like we have the deathmatch wrestling you're talking about now. And another guy that I've seen kind of recently have a lot of success going all over the place and then going into death matches is Hoodfoot. Like he recently kind of, you both have like dove in head first now into this scene. Like your first death match was gnarly, dude. Like that was like a memorable death match. And Hoodfoot kind of did the same in GCW. And now he's getting booked all over the place for death matches. Do you kind of see yourself doing something similar? Like, do you want to have more of these types of matches, or do you just want to kind of be utility where like anywhere that someone thinks you'd be a good spot, like you're ready to go in any situation?
So I definitely could see myself doing some more death matches. I don't know. I said this before, you know, in conversations with guys like Alex Clone and like, and I don't know if you know this or not, but like it was my first death match in GCW, but I've done death matches as early as 2016, which was my first one was against Reed Bentley in IWA Mid-South. But I've been very, very selective with how many I've done. I think I've done, I would say 10, maybe 12, a couple tournaments, but like I'm not a deathmatch guy. I will be a guy that does death matches. I respect the art too much to consider myself a deathmatch guy, but I'm a guy that whenever I do them, I'm going to go as fucking crazy as I can. Like I'm not going to be one of those guys that, you know, just does it and then wants to brag about doing it. I'm a guy that when I do it, it's because I'm doing it, and it's because I respect the art of the deathmatch wrestlers. So, yeah, you can definitely expect me to do a couple more in the future, maybe in the near future. But when I do them, I will do it out of respect and when it matters most. But I'm a utility guy. I like that too. I'm a guy. Just whatever you need me, I'm that guy. Send me in.
Besides you carving your own chest with the light tube, the other spot that really stood out to me was the chandelier. And I got to know, was there any thoughts of swinging from the chandelier, of just pulling the whole thing down and using it? What's going through your mind as you're setting up the ladder and you see this thing in the way?
Holy shit! Like, it's still at a point where like, I'm an afterthought that anytime somebody mentions it, it's like, I get that same feeling because it's like, in the midst of the match, I'm like, okay, like this is not just another match. Like I could feel it in the moment. I could feel it with the crowd. Like this is something that could be really, really cool. And I set the ladder up and like, I don't know what happened. Like I thought I had a grip on it and I just look up and I just see the chandelier swing and I'm like, you just see me like look down. I'm like, oh fuck. You're like, oh man, like I am screwed. And I'm sorry I curse a lot, so please.
Oh, no worries.
Me, but it's like, but I'm literally like, oh my god, like I'm having them like I am trying to prove a point with this match more than anything else, and I'm looking at the chandelier swinging, and it's like, if this comes down, I'm fucked. For my career's over. Like I'm gonna be forever known as the guy that broke the fucking chandelier in the showboat. And I'm like, okay. And like, it stays out there. And I literally look at, like, I think I looked at a ref. I was like, please help me with this fucking ladder. Cause I'm not about to fucking wreck this. Like, I'm not trying to tear it down. I get up there and I've never climbed a ladder and tried to lean so far away from the chandelier in my life. It was just like, it just stopped my heartbeat. I was just like, oh shit. Like, this is probably going to be the end of fucking all my hard work and everything. Like, all right, cool.
Fortunately, the chandelier did not come down. But that,
and like, obviously, this conversation might bring it back up. But like, I don't know what it says, but like, it became an afterthought. Like the whole thing, like, it could have been like a whole big deal after match. Like, wow, Cole's a real piece of shit. Like, it was still mentioned and it still had a GIF on Twitter, but like, like it still wasn't as big of a deal as it probably should have been.
See,
So
I wasn't even thinking of like, oh, this is a big deal, like he hit the chandelier or anything. I wondered how it was gonna like play into the match or anything. I could see you were worried about it. I was like, oh, this is cool, like this is great. I'm of course not thinking about, oh yeah, if this comes down, like everything's screwed, the building, they run there all the time. I'm not thinking about that at all.
It would have been probably the worst thing to ever happen. It was just.
Well, in that case, I'm glad that did not happen. But as a fan watching, I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever.
No, it was a heart attack for me. I was like, oh my God, like, don't let this fucking happen. Like, this match.
Oh my God. That's too funny.
Up the audio.
Me. Somebody tried to call me. That's
okay.
All good. Well, you know, the night before this death match with Orin Veidt, you wrestled Billy Starkz, and I thought it was a fantastic match between y'all. And y'all obviously know each other very well. Tell the people listening right now kind of about the big Starkz brand and like what the people involved with that mean to you.
Yeah, so like Billy Starkz is like my little sister, like legitimately. So back in the IWA days, where in probably about 2016, I was wrestling a match against Reed Bentley, and somebody posted these photos. I was like, oh, like that's really sweet. Like it was a photo of me giving like a springboard stunner, and I was like, I messaged Nick Maniwal and I said, hey, like who took these photos? Like they're really sick, and he linked me to a guy named Robert Bellamy, and I was like, okay, well. Like I hit up the guy. I was like, "Hey man, like this was a really sick photo. Do you happen to have any more?" And he's like, "Actually, yeah." And he like sent me like 3 or 4. And I was like, "Hey man, I appreciate that." Next show comes by and he shows up and he's taking more photos and sends them straight to me, and I just started chatting with him. And I don't know. I'm not trying to take credit. I don't know if he messaged me or if he directly messaged Maniwal, but like he was like, "Hey, can I like shoot a couple photos ringside?" And Maniwal was like, "Yeah," and like ended up where he would take photos ringside, and sorry, freaking voicemail. I hate phones. So he ended up basically, you know, working through Ian Rotten and got involved in wrestling that way, basically because I started asking him for the photos that he took. So now I end up going to living in Dayton, and he starts traveling to Dayton, and he starts taking photos for Rockstar Pro, and he's starting to bring along his kid, which is, you know, Billy.
Yep.
Well, Billy's like 13, 14 years old, asking all these wrestlers like, oh, hey, like, how do I get into wrestling? Or like, I want to be a wrestler, and like starts watching these matches at that age, like not watching it as a professional wrestling match, but watching it like in a deeper sense and like trying to learn from everything. And the kid ends up training at like 15 or 16 years old at Grindhouse Pro Wrestling, and ends up now me and her dad, Robert, or Mouse, whatever you want to call him. I call him Robert, but Mouse, you know, now we're traveling to New Jersey for JCW and GCW every weekend, or we're traveling to Supgraphs, or we're traveling to Florida for, you know, Mania weekend, or we're traveling to Iowa. So it's like over the past couple of years, like, you know, all these people that Mouse was taking photos of, and all these people that Billy was taking photos of, because that's how she broke into wrestling, is she started taking photos with her dad. She did promo shots. Like, all these people that they've met have became family to her, family to them, family to us. So that became big Starkz Brand. And now you have people like the freaking, you know, Dante Martin and Sky Blue and Lee Moriarty all wearing it on AEW, because like these are all people that, you know, Mouse would give promo photos to, and like, hey, you want to get some shots? Let's get some shots. And like Mouse never charges people. Like that's something that people don't know, is Mouse hardly, I don't think unless he gets booked, like he doesn't charge anybody for anything. He's like, if he takes an 8x10 photo of you, whether it's in the ring or if it's just in the back, like he will take that photo and you can go make 8x10s or make it off of a shirt. He doesn't care. He cares more about go make your money and go get your name out there or have something that looks professional. Like Mouse is a very selfless person, and he'll never put himself over. And I know I'm ranting, but like this is why people that love the big Starkz brand and believe in it, do believe in it, is because like Mouse helps out so many people. And his kid is such a good kid. Like if you've ever met Billy, she's like a sweetheart of a kid. And like, I don't know, they're really good people, and it's a really great brand. And I love being a part of it. It's like a family. But besides putting Robert over, he sucks. He's gonna look at me and message me and call me soft or whatever. But like the brand became it became a thing because he became such a champion of his kid. So he looked at LeVar Ball and like how Mello is and how all the other Ball brothers are, and he was like, "That's my kid. Like I'm gonna champion for my kid. At the end of the day, like my kid is going to be, one of the hardest workers, and Billy is." And so the big Starkz brand became the big baller brand, or vice versa, and that's how it grew. So.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear you say all this stuff about Mouse and Billy too, because I got to meet Mouse years ago at Glory Pro, just like standing around. We were just kind of next to each other, and he was like taking pictures, and we just started talking. And then I would see him at like SUP in Nashville, and like just start seeing him kind of different places live. And every time he'd be like, my kid just started wrestling, like every time, like he was so excited, like my kid just started wrestling, and then to see like where she is now just a few years later, like it's so cool seeing all of y'all just like really grown in the world of wrestling right now. I mean, it's so cool.
Oh yeah, the kid's going to be a star, or she already is a star, but she's going to make a shit ton of money one day. So Mouse is like, all right, whatever, I'll do all the drives now. Like she's going to pay for everything later. Like he's like, I'm going to shoot ringside at WrestleMania or something. So like, yeah, it's really cool to see like especially if it's like I have a show in like Tennessee or New Jersey. He's like, hey, like who's your ride? I don't know yet, Mouse. I have a crappy car, so I'll probably end up driving myself. He's like, all right, let's go. I'll just meet him in Louisville. So like, yeah, it's really good to see how far, and he'll never give himself credit like of how great of a photographer he is. But a guy that takes us late, like he'll just, if you ever see him shooting ringside, like sometimes he just holds up the camera and just like clicks it, and it's fucking art. Like the guy is really naturally good. So it's great to see that his growth as like a photographer from a guy that would just take photos, in the crowd to like where he is at now. It's pretty sick.
Did you take it easier on Billy because she has a little sister and her dad was right there? Or did you?
So like Billy's, if you've ever met Billy, she's a really nice person, but she's also brutally honest. She gets it from her mother. She will just, if she watches your match and that she didn't like something, she will be like, all right, well, I know you had a great match, but, and like from that, like me and her have always just been like, when it comes to wrestling, hey, like, this is what I thought. And I don't know much. Like I'm an idiot naturally, but like, if I see something like, hey, like this is something you could have done, or like, we'll tell each other that. Like we've both been very brutally honest in wrestling to help each other grow, because I think she can see something about me differently than the way I could see something about her wrestling. So yeah, I've never really taken it easy. And then definitely when we wrestle, she hits the piss out of me. So I have to do the same. Like, it's out of love. She's my little sister, but like the kid hits hard. Like anybody that wrestles her, the kid knocks the hell out of you. And like her parents are like, you better hit her back. Like, Robert tells me every time, like Robert wasn't at the last GCW show, but when he found out that we were wrestling, he literally was like, you better hit the kid because she's going to hit you. And she hit me like 4 times. I was like, ah. I was like, all right, damn.
Wow. So I was always curious about this. Like, what's Billy? Does Billy drive herself to these shows when Mouse isn't there, or how does she? Because I usually see him with her.
So this last one, it was her mom. So either her mom goes or Mouse goes. Like it's always one or the other. This last time it was me, her mom, and her boyfriend Marcus. We drove out there and drove back. But it's usually most of the times if it's a GCW weekend, it's usually I go down and meet Mouse in Louisville, and then me, him, Billy, and whoever else. Usually it's Marcus and somebody else, whoever's riding out. We'll go to Jersey from there, or however. Like that's how usually most of the trips go. But yeah, Billy's usually with one or the other, or is always with one or the other. But she's driving now, so eventually she is going to be driving herself to her own bookings. But Mouse, I don't think Mouse is going to let that happen for a while. He likes being there too much.
I was wondering too, like, because obviously there's big news with Nick Wayne signing with AEW recently, and then my wheels start turning, and I'm like, Marcus Mathers, Billy Stark, Starboy Charlie, like these literal kids, teenagers that are like so talented. And I was wondering to myself, like, I wonder if Billy winds up in AEW, if that'll be a package deal, and Mouse goes there too.
I mean, at this point, probably like it would make sense, right? Just like have Robert there, and he gets unlimited road trip donuts, and he's just back there with like the ice cream cones, just like, oh, that's out of cool, or like whatever. I could definitely see that. I don't know, like the kids that like Anybody that knows Billy knows she's really, really talented and really, really good. So it's like, all right, what's the kid going to do? I think she has unlimited possibilities. I think she definitely wants to go to Japan for a year. I think that's one of her big goals after talking to her, but who knows? You know what I mean? I know Mouse is like, all right, kid, you're the breadwinner. Let's go. Let's go. He's like, this is my retirement package right here. But you know what I mean? Yeah, like you never know. You never know what could happen. But yeah, I think it definitely should be a package deal. Or at least Mouse can at least take some photos in the back.
That's what I'm saying. Like they get a great photographer out of it as well. A great wrestler and a great photographer. Two for one deal.
Yeah. I mean, he's an okay photographer, better person, but
can't put him over too much, as you said. He'll see this and he'll call you soft, and then
no, he's already going to call me soft. He's really soft. He put me over too much, nerd.
What was it like being in Hammerstein and that whole atmosphere? And then you mentioned GCW was a big part of your career in the pandemic, playing a role in who you are now, and then they make it to Hammerstein and you're part of that. What was that like?
It was pretty surreal. Like the only thing I kept telling myself is there's going to be more people watching this live in person than there are living in my hometown. And like to me, like that was the craziest thing. I was like, holy shit, like there's more people in this building watching me do something that like not a lot of people didn't believe in me, but like a lot of people were like, that's kind of weird. Like that's going to be your life choices. You're going to be a professional wrestler. So I was like, okay, so like I'm wrestling now in front of more people than the people that were telling me like, don't ever do this. I think that was so surreal. And then like the Radrick or Riot thing started happening where like people were like wanting me to be on the show. And I was like, that's sick. Like, I don't know. Like I'm a very weird person where I think I bother a lot of people just by like existing. And so like I'm very socially like awkward, I feel. And like I just think a lot of people don't like me as a person, which again is just social anxieties and like mental health stuff. But like it was really cool to see that many people like believe in me and want to see me there. Like it was such a big show, like with other stars, and like to have my own like little thing where people were just like, yo, we want to see this, weirdo from Spencer, Indiana that like always wanted to be a wrestler and everybody thought he was a weird guy for wanting to be a wrestler. Like it was a really cool thing to happen. And like coming out for my entrance and just seeing all like the little like Radrick Riot signs pop up, and it was like 200 of those things. I was like, what the shit is going on? Like it was, I don't know, it was really humbling. It was really, really sick. It was really cool.
Well,
I'm just a dude,
Oh yeah, but dude, you're so much fun to watch, man. Like you talking about you always wanted to be a wrestler, and me being such a fan of what you do in the ring. Like, who are some of the influences that you'd say kind of like formed your style of wrestling?
I really loved Paul London and Rey Mysterio growing up. I thought those guys were always undersized, but like they were always really, really good. Like London was just so crisp in the ring from like a long, long time. But like the first ever independent wrestler I ever watched was a guy by the name of JC Bailey, who was a technical wrestler that specialized in death matches. So like I take a lot of influence from him because I really want to be a guy that can do both. He leaned more to the deathmatch side of things than he did the technical wrestling. So I'm trying to be like the more of the opposite, where I'm a technical wrestler that like when I do the death matches, like it makes sense. Or like I do it well, hopefully. But guys like that, guys like Speedball Mike Bailey, whenever his first PWG run was like right when I was getting into like I want to try to be a wrestler. Like he was such a good martial artist, and his like fluidity of strikes and how he pieced things together and how there was no wasted motion. Like that's something I can admire. And like, I was like, man, like that's really good. Like that's a guy that whenever he wrestles, it's crisp. You know what I mean? And you want to watch it because he's that good, and he's only gotten better. Like he's already back in the States and he's fucking killing it. So it's pretty sick.
You mentioned mental health and social anxiety, and I relate a lot to that and feeling like, oh, nobody really wants me here or likes me or anything. And a lot of it, it's all in our head because a lot of people tell us we're great, and we all have friends and everything, and they tell us, hey, you're really good, I really enjoy hanging out with you. And in your own mind, you're just like, no one really wants me. Like, how do you take care of your mental health, I guess? And I know that's maybe a wide ranging question, but for you,
it's a constant battle, like, but it's not like a bad thing. Like, honestly, it's more than anything, it's keeping a constant upkeep. So a lot of things I'll wake up and I'll just tell myself, I'm grateful for what I'm grateful for. So like, I'll just be like, okay, I'm grateful for this and that. And like, whenever I get to wrestling shows and like, I'll talk to the people I love, like that I know love me. Like I talk to people that I not care about, like I know care for me. I'll talk to guys like Big Vin or Jordan Oliver or Blake Christian or Alex Zane or Effie or people that I know like genuinely care about me as a person. It's like, all right, I know no matter what, like these are people that do care and I can go talk to. And it's like, all right, if I need an honest opinion, I know I can go to Jordan Oliver and talk to him about whatever we need to talk about. Like that's one of my guys. And so it's like, those are the things I'm doing to keep myself centered. It's like, all right, like I do have people that care about me. I'm not this weirdo that like talks a lot and like can rant and like, and I'm sure you guys can tell, like I go on rants. It's just what I do because I just talk and talk and talk. But it's just like, it's cool because like I try to be really grateful for everything I get to do. I'm a really lucky guy. Like I said, I'm a small town redneck from Spencer, Indiana. That definitely should not be, nobody should have ever paid for a plane ticket for me to go wrestle, but it's happened. Somebody literally took time out of their day to buy a $200 plane ticket for me to go do something across, that's 14 hours away to do something that I love. Like that is more than what I ever thought of as a kid. So like everything from that is just, I'm really grateful. And I just want to work hard and, do much more bigger things that way. So hopefully, another small town kid just looks at another redneck like me. It's like, oh, like, it's cool. You can do cool things. So like those are the things that like I try to remind myself is that I've done way more than I probably should have and I probably will do. Hopefully more cool things. And I'm just going to be the best person I can be while doing that. I try to be a really, positive person. I think it comes off as fake sometimes, but I'm really trying to be, I don't know, a good person.
No, again,
sorry, I rant.
No, you're
great.
completely fine. And like and very relating is you try to be positive but then you think like you're too positive and it does come off as fake. And like you're right, like it is a battle. And I just wanted to tell you, like, I think everything you have said today and your rants, which I don't see as rants as all, like all of it comes off across very genuine. And you, not knowing you before this conversation, not knowing you wrestling wise to the level, especially like Jensen has, like I've found this whole conversation like just great. And you're already now, like, I like you even more as a wrestler on top of as a person just doing this interview. And I hope other people find that as well. But I think you're a great person on top of being a great wrestler.
I appreciate that. I try my best. I'm not perfect, but I definitely try. I don't know. There's spread and do good is like my life motto. Or like I thought a quote was just like spread and do good. So that's all I try to do. I had some like bad mentors early on in wrestling that definitely didn't help out a lot. And so I'm definitely just trying to be something where it's like, I don't want anybody to ever have a reason to be like, oh, Cole Radrick was like a dick to me because I saw him at a show and he didn't talk to me, or I wanted to say something to him or ask him to watch my match or anything like that. And like, I'm getting to a weird point where like people are asking me to watch their matches and I'm like, I'm nobody, but I will watch it and, we'll see whatever. I don't know. I just want to be good and do good. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's all super inspiring, man. And, you said that you feel like you've already kind of like accomplished so much and you're grateful for so much. Well, like what else is on kind of your bucket list? What goals do you have? You're out there winning championships with unsanctioned pro champ. You got like some dream matches that you really want. You got any companies you haven't worked for that you're really looking forward to maybe, mixing up in soon?
There's a couple things I definitely have on my bucket list. There's a couple matches that are going to be happening Mania weekend that I think are going to be pretty that are bucket list matches. So I don't want to list them off, but I think it'll be they'll be pretty cool. More than anything, I just want to wrestle more. I'm very lucky to wrestle I wrestle like once, probably. I probably wrestle twice a weekend, every weekend for the past 3-4 months, and then it looks like I'm going to continue to do that, and I love doing that. I just legitimately just want to wrestle more, as much as I can. I want to wrestle. I don't know. I think a big goal this year would be to do something like AEW Dark or something along those lines. But I'm at the point where right now I just want to be. I don't know. It's a weird way to say this because like it sounds like I'm being like a mark or whatever, or a mark for myself. But it's like at the end of the day, like I want to build such a good reputation for myself as an in-ring wrestler by the end of this year, where it's like, oh yeah, Cole Radrick's like one of those guys. Like I want to be. That's where I'm working to. Is I just want to be a clean, established professional wrestler where it's like, all right, well, if Cole Radrick's on the show, like I'm fucking watching this show. Like this is all right. He's like the guy I gotta watch. But yeah, something like AEW Dark or something with Impact or some anything like that, like something with like a TV company was definitely like a goal. Just not even like a contract or anything. It's just like I want to get to that spot and test myself in that environment because like I've always been one of those guys like I rise to the occasion, and it's even if I fail, I'm gonna fail on my fucking sword and I'm gonna try my hardest. You know what I mean? So. I think those would be the goals. Definitely got some ideal matches that I want to happen and that may or may not be happening. So just kind of seeing what happens from there.
My last one for you, and nothing to do with wrestling, but what is that picture in the background?
This?
Yes.
So that is a photo of Assembly Hall, which is the IU basketball stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. So it's here. I think I can move the camera a little bit. We can get it's from my uncle. So it's hanging in there, but it's the basketball stadium.
That's what I thought it was. And especially when you mentioned Indiana, and I just wanted to get confirmation. Is that an Ali photo? We're just going to take a tour.
We'll just do a tour. So we got an Ali photo. These are Valentine stickers from Jonesy, part of his space, one of his space boxes.
Nice.
So shout out JonesyCollectibles.com. This photo right here is a autographed Mankind photo with Paul Bear. So what's funny about that is he did a comedy show in Bloomington, Indiana, the night of my very, very first training session, like ever. So not ever, but like, so I trained once when I was 16. I signed like a 4-year contract with like a very local, like shady promoter. That's a whole story in itself. But whenever I like truly started training at New Wave Pro, I went to the comedy show with Mick Foley and I was like, hey man, like I'm going to train to be a wrestler. He's like, well, hey man, good luck. And so like I took a photo with him and I got that 8x10 and I was like, all right, sick. Like now I have at least something that's like, all right, this is from my day one of like wrestling training. So that was a cool story about that. I got some Dale Earnhardt stuff, but I don't know if we want the full tour. I got wrestling posters. So my living room is a man cave. My girlfriend has like the upstairs loft, but yeah.
Very nice.
I love it. I'm the same kind of way. My living room is just like Minnesota Viking stuff, UFC. I mean, this is my living room. We got like UFC posters in here over my shoulder and stuff. So I respect it, man. I love that kind of stuff.
I got a couple UFC posters I think it's at my dad's, but I'm just like, man, I don't know if I have enough space.
Man, you were just mentioning this, guys. We kind of close up this interview here. You were mentioning, you want to be one of those guys that people look to, and it's like Cole's on the show. I got to watch that show. You're already one of those guys for me, man. And I know I'm not alone. And there's a lot of us out there that are out there that are Ratty Daddy fans, and we want to see you everywhere. And I guess kind of my last question for you. It's a pretty generic question, but it's a question I'm like legitimately interested every time I ask it. As a fan of wrestling yourself, what's your favorite match you've ever watched?
Damn. So I don't know if it's just because it has a historic remembrance, like not historic, but like just like a special spot. Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, the opening of WrestleMania 21 is such a really, really good, clean, technical match. Like they had obviously the Halloween Havoc match is, it's there. But like besides Mysterio's mask, like going all over the place because like he had like this weird strap system on it. Like it was such a very good technical match. And it was a really, as a kid, I was like, man, this match is so like awesome. Like Rey Mysterio is so cool. He's doing all of his best hits, like Eddie Guerrero's being freaking Eddie Guerrero. You know what I mean? So like I don't know, like that's probably like one of my favorite matches. Definitely, Shawn, Ric Flair. I'm sorry, I love you. Perfect ending, super kick. Yeah, man. JC Bailey versus Chris Cash from TOD3. That's one of my favorite death matches of all time. So yeah, like those are like the matches where I'm like, oh yeah, like that was really sick. Like I was like growing up, like those three matches were like, all right, these are what I'm gonna watch like all the time. So those were probably the three. And I do want to say, like, I do appreciate you because I know you have been a very, very big fan of mine. You've definitely retweeted a lot of my stuff. Definitely did not know what I did to get such an appreciation from you. So I do appreciate it. Like, I do tell people a lot, like, I do appreciate the love people give out to me. It does mean a lot to me. So I appreciate you, my man. Yeah, thank you for real.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And it's honestly, it's because I just see how hard you work, man. Like your effort just really, really shows through, and your skill set is just, it's unique. Like I love the way you mix up your technical wrestling and just how we've used the word kind of utility, but like you really are the utility guy for me. Like there are a few people out there that like when I hear their name, I'm like, this person is going to make the show they're on better no matter what. And you're just one of those guys for me, man. So I'm happy to promote you as much as I can. And I was really happy that we can get you on the show today because I've wanted to talk to you for a while, but today, this just wound up working out perfect with you having that GCW deathmatch recently and us talking about you on the show recently. So it's like, we talked about you. Now we get everyone to, they get to hear from you this week. So I really appreciate it as well, man.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk with you guys for real. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, I'm really grateful for the position that I'm in, and like the journey. And it's pretty sick that I get to talk to somebody that one is like been like a big supporter of me for a while, and like I'm a big fan of Fightful, so like it's sick in both ways. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
We appreciate you joining us, Cole. When Jensen said, you were down to do it, I was excited. Again, I'm not the king of the indies like Jensen is over here. But
well, by the way, I'm not. There are people far, dude. Like when I'll just put it out there. When I am looking for answers, I turn to Dylan Hales. That's kind of like my source of like. If I don't know it, Dylan will know it. So like I don't consider myself like the king of like the indies or whatever. Nothing like that.
Dylan
there are
knows
definitely people. Yeah, there are definitely people that I look towards. So that's no way more than me. I appreciate the compliment though, Jeremy. I mean, I know you're just trying to be nice, but
but I was excited for you to come on, especially after talking about you last week with the deathmatch and everything. And I appreciate this interview and how honest you were and all the stories. And we got to get you back on to talk about this 4-year contract that you signed early in your career.
He showed up on my 16th birthday, like legitimately.
Okay, all right. You're welcome back anytime you want, and we're gonna do the 4-year contract story, and we're gonna get to the bottom of all of this. Cole, let the people know where they can find you at.
So it's at Cole Radrick on Twitter, at Cole Radrick on Instagram. Pretty nice, pretty simple. Like again, you can probably tell, I'm not a genius. So my Twitter at and my Instagram at is very, very simple. Going to have some new merch coming out, so be on the lookout for that. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. Shout out Wrestle Nerds for my sick ass t-shirt. They have like these really dope shirts that they just hooked me up with. So go check them out. They're really dope people. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty bland. Sorry.
Again, thank you, Cole, for doing this. We really appreciate it. Guys, we'll be right back in just a second here on the